I am Michael Donahue, and today I'm having a conversation with.
Sareth Ney, journalist, superhero, comedian, Clive Barker's former apprentice, one of them, anyways.
Hey man, it's a rocking good, fun conversation. Y'all gonna have a good time listening. So, and thank you for taking the time to talk to somebody that you didn't have any need to, but now we wound up being at the same concert like 15 years ago. What the hell is that? Like,
Nuts, and knowing Armando and Denise from Shriek Fest, and it's been you going to see Cinefamily when they were hosting Nightbreed, and me singing at New Beverly Cinema, and
yeah,
and having Clive thank me underneath New Beverly, and I was just so that was a cool Nightbreed connection we got going there too.
most definitely, man. For me, like I can rewatch things again and again and again because the way that my memory works is I retain bits that are emotionally impactful, or I mean, like I might be able to give you the meat of the story. Like I can give you a synopsis of the thing, but like if we're gonna talk about okay, if we're talking about Nightbreed, like I remember the color palette, specifically the dude with the blade, the knife, the thumb blades. He
Yep,
cuts
yep.
into his own face. I'm just cruising through cable television one night. I'm like 14. I think I'm like 14, and my parents have only barely allowed me to start watching things that are like PG-13. Like I was raised that Catholic, you know what I mean? So I'm just like, huh, what's going on with these two dudes in this hospital room? Why is he ripping his face off? And then I sat there and watched the rest of the movie. You know what I mean, man? Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you beat for beat. I can't even tell you character names, but I can tell you like, the one with the porcupines coming off her.
Yeah, absolutely. Indeed. Yeah, I get like it was after meeting Clive and such was I watched Nightbreed because I just remembered his other movies, and so after watching the movie, I picked up the Kabbalah book, and
I
now
still don't.
I recommend it. It's like exact like the director's cut, so it's just follows this. I love it. It's not bad at all. I got the hardcover, so it's pretty awesome. I don't like soft covers or those kinds of books, but hardcovers are my favorite for sure. Paperbacks are
I worked
not my
at Barnes
favorite.
and Noble for 13 years. You don't have to sell me on hardcovers.
Oh, indeed, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll go even a step further occasionally. Like I have a couple of my favorite books in library binding. You know what I'm talking
Wow.
about?
It's those. I think so.
Like when you think back to the school library books, how some of them had like a textured, glossy hardcover, but it was like the picture was printed onto the binding itself. It wasn't a slip or anything,
Mm,
and it was a much tighter bind at the spine, and it's so basically a mass market paperback. The ones that you see like in airports and just like everywhere. Are it's designed to be read like one time and then kind of forgotten about. It's gonna fall apart if you try to read it more than a couple of times. Then there's the trade paperbacks, which are designed to be read, a bunch of times, but they're not designed to like last and last and last. And then a hardcover is designed, as long as it's your personal library, even if you read it and lent it to all your friends, it's not going to get enough use to like really destroy it. Library binding is specifically that. It's meant to be read over and over and over and over for the entirety of its life. And so I got a couple of books like that. So
wow, that's pretty dope. That's a cool fun facts about library bindings for sure.
yeah, again, knowledge I only have because working in a bookstore.
Indeed, I'm always fascinated by bookstores. There's so many stories, and I like going to like mom and pop shops or the used bookstores. There's plenty around me, and it's just I just get lost in them. And as like during my writing days, when I was writing not like fiction and such, and I'd always get intimidated because I'm like, what if my story is already written and it's already on the shelves? And
Right.
I'm like, and that's why I stuck with like concert journalism because I'm like, well, that's only my words up there, and that's my works, and it's like lightning in a bottle. Pretty cool times out in LA for sure. But I stepped back because I didn't want to go deaf, and I was going to too many concerts in a short minute period of time.
And it was genuinely affecting your hearing.
Um, kind of, because like I was so close to the speakers because I was in the photo pit a lot.
Mhm.
They would give me my photo passes, and I'd be like between the artist and the audience. And so if it wasn't the music that's coming through the speakers, it was definitely the audience screaming and cheering and applauding and stuff. So
Okay, so as a concert journalist, like what would like do you have a preferred genre of music? Like I mean like film, I just love film, but like most days I want a comedy or a horror, you know what I mean?
absolutely. For me, I started off loving hip hop, as you saw in the press
Mm,
kit,
yeah.
and like I was sitting down with Clive, with having our heart to heart conversations like we did, and he goes, if you're going to be a concert journalist, you're going to have to go see every single genre of music. You just can't stick to one. And I'm like,
Right.
you got it, sirs. It was so I covered every single genre of music because like the Sunset Strip was every single genre of music, and I was in heaven.
Yeah.
And, and I was like covering metal here and ska there and hip hop and everything. So that was great because like after I took the knowledge from Clive and learning like finding my voice in concert journalism, I applied it to my hometown of a small town called Pueblo, Colorado, and I wanted to see what I could took from Clive and the finding my voice in concert journalism, and I applied it to my hometown, and then all of a sudden it was every genre of music there too. I was like, wow, this is nuts. And but they
Yeah.
weren't signed and they weren't big or nothing. They were just $5 cover or free cover or no cover at all. And
Yeah. Yeah.
but I was like, but I'm moving to Florida, guys. I'm done here. I gotta go take care of family stuff. And
Oh,
I
for
said,
sure.
I said, I just want 3 comics and 3 musicians to send me on my way and do like a one night show. And I tagged one member of each band that I covered, and they're like, all right, we all went in on this. I'm like, crap, I got to book all of you guys because I didn't want to turn anyone down. So it turned into like a 3 day thing. And then now it's like turning 8 years old out in Colorado. And then we're starting one here in Daytona Beach in October. So it's going to be pretty fun.
That is craziness. Okay, so like who were some of the acts you got going on that?
Sareth Fest, this Daytona Beach is the comedians that are starting off is Rick Bryan, a
Mm.
storyteller named Curvy Red Girl, my pal John Brown, Wu Manchu, my superhero alter ego.
I liked that set. Like because all your little references were making me giggle, and I could
Uh,
tell that either you were in a room full of comics that were too cool for school, or it was just too deep cuts for them. But dude, I was rolling.
oh, for sure, I loved it. I'm not sure which ones did you see up there.
I watched it was a 5 minute clean set that was a as part of the EPK that you sent me.
I have one that was in Orlando at the other bar, and then I have one. Well, I have like a one in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Relapse Theater.
Well, it was
And
the one where you were. I don't know if they were like the same set or whatever, but like they're all blue, so they're in the Blue Man cover. Like like I was like, oh my god, that's hilarious.
Oh, for sure.
Uh,
That's
uh,
when Wu Manchu did that set. It was like, oh, and then they were playing. My buddy Casey was playing drums in the background for all the
yeah,
punchlines.
yeah, that's the one. That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, and that and like I don't see any curse words in my sets because like Method Man doesn't say curse words anymore, and Inspector Deck's verse in Triumph was like his first verse in that song. No curse words, but it was all intelligent stuff, and I didn't want to disappoint my parents any longer, so I just don't say any curse
Okay.
words, but I just say really dirty things, and it's an even trade, I think. So
Right on. Well, and it's definitely it's easier to book if you book clean. You know what I mean? So
absolutely, and
like just look how crazy the dry bar got. Like it was something I had just barely heard of, and then it's like gajillions
yeah, for sure. I don't think my content is good, like clean enough for.
for this dry
Uh,
bar. Oh, for sure, for sure. I get
yeah,
what you're saying, but like I just
indeed.
meant in general. Like I actually got to see John Panette live probably 5 years before he passed.
Uh,
And what was really interesting to me was I saw the same set at three different levels of cleanliness. I saw him do it for like it was like a late night television, and then I saw him do it when I saw him do it live. It was blue as blue can be, and then I literally saw him do the same set for the Jerry's Kids telethon.
wow.
So could not have been cleaner. And every one of them, it was the same content, it was the same jokes. It was just a little tweak on the delivery and equally funny every time. So
Dang. I'll definitely have to check it out. And it reminded me of like the set I did. I did two sets on Wednesday, and my fellow comic friend, brought his kid to the show, and I'm like, oh no! And so I had to clean. I just used all my clean jokes in 5 minutes, and I'm like, I am not saying anything bad in front of this kid. And so the only thing that I said was like, you might be offensive, was weed, and that was like as extremely as extreme as I got with anything. And I'm like, I'm glad. I hope she doesn't know what weed is, because she was like 9 years old or something like
right.
that. So I'm like,
If she's
good.
9, she knows what weed is. Deal with it. Like,
Absolutely.
so, you said that Candyman is your favorite Clive Barker film. I will admit to you, I have only seen it once. I loved it, but I have only seen it once, and it was probably 20 years ago. So
Wow.
I don't have like hardcore beat for beat memories of it, but I remember its tone. Almost all my family is from Chicago, so the
Mhm.
way that it told the Chicago story and used Chicago was really cool. And well, of course, the effects and the Tony Todd of it all. But so like, why is that your favorite?
It's just beautiful. Like, he didn't mean to be a villain, and to me, he was a hero too.
Oh yeah,
And because he was an artist, and he died for having an interracial relationship, and it was just like in Chicago, like you said, and it happened in like a real setting, which was Cabrini Green.
hmm
And and when I first watched it when I was a kid, it scared me from like when I was 9 years old to when I was 15, and I slept with the light on, the doors were open when I slept, when I used the restroom, like all that stuff, and had the lights on, slept with the radio on, just to like, get me to the nights for 6 years straight. And that's how much it traumatized me. And
no,
then I
understood.
and then I went back and I watched it as an adult to like just nitpick it and see, all right, what part scared me the most and what part was like, all right, cool, I can deal with this. And I started to realize that it was just like, man, like people still can't accept interracial relationships or marriages or
Believe me, I
mixed
understand. I'm
children.
in one. So
Indeed. And it's just like, and then when I was watching the Mythos, which is the special features on it, they were saying how like during the last day of production, the crew was getting shot at, and when it premiered, it happened during like the Rodney King situation, and
yeah,
there were so many beautiful things that happened, and and bad things that happened in the entire set. And it's like, and it's so quotable, and I guess it's like the most profitable movie that Clive ever made.
is it
Um,
really?
I guess
Really?
so. That's what
Really?
I
More than
heard.
Hellraiser?
I believe. Well, for I guess so. I mean, that's what I heard, and through the
No,
grapevine.
no, I totally believe you. I just like that's shocking. But then again, like you find out bands never had number one hits, and you're like, how is that possible? Isn't it like Led Zeppelin never had a number one hit or something? Like,
Going back to my concert days, like journalism days, like the oldest two bands that I saw live was UFO at the Key Club, and the Doors minus Jim Morrison at the House of Blues on Sunset Strip when it was still open, when both
that
places were still
is
open.
intense. Now, I actually share that. I have also seen UFO, because I had a buddy of mine in college who was just kind of like, he's he was just all in like music in all of its forms, but his main thing was like that style of rock, and like he loved like hair metal and stuff. And so I had never really heard of them, but I just wanted to get out of the house. Like I'd heard of them, but I never heard the music. Like I knew that they were like a legendary thing. I don't even think I had heard, what is it, Turn Off the Lights or something? Is that what it's called?
I wasn't familiar either. I just said, hey, this band from the '60s are playing at the Key Club. Would you like to cover it? I'm like, sure, I'll cover it.
Whoa,
And so
wait
I've
a minute.
not.
The Key Club. It's a really small club, right?
Yeah, it used to be open. Now it's like
Bro,
live.
we were at the same show.
Really?
Because the lead singer was sick, right?
I believe so.
Bro, we were at the same fucking show.
That's crazy. It's nuts. And like I like to like I was like front row, and I had my camera out and everything, and like I was photographing and taking notes and everything like I do, like I'm old school. And after the show ended, I the one of the musicians, either the guitarist or the bassist, I can't remember, but like the he grabbed his set list and he waved everyone's hands away from me, and he gave me the set list that night. It was
That's
nuts.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's sick. Right on.
It
Good time,
was
dude.
It was like the Seven Deadly Sins tour or something like that. I think it was, but it was like back in like early 2010s, like 2011, 12, or 13. I can't remember, but it happened around
Man,
that time.
that's craziness.
Indeed, small world indeed, for sure.
Couldn't tell you, the set or anything, but just being flabbergasted that like this older fella who was sick was rocking harder than dudes I had paid a lot more money to see. You know what I mean? Like,
Indeed.
yeah.
That's so gnarly, and that's why I love I love booking like when I put the fest on in my hometown. Like, there's nothing but metal bands that are
Okay.
there, and like most of the acts are metal. There's psychobilly, hip hop, and almost every genre across the board. I can't find country for nothing, and it's weird because it's in Colorado, and but the ones that are like that are metal guys, they have been by my side since like day one, and they're very professional, and they know load in, load out, and they're just it's like they make life so much easier, and it's like clockwork. It's just fantastic.
Nah, man, for sure. Like, if we're talking music, like I do truly appreciate just about every genre. Most country is not for me, but I'm a firm believer that if you don't like some Johnny Cash, there's something wrong with your soul. But like hip hop and metal are my two biggest. And like I'm super into Run the Jewels. I had tickets to see them right before all the shit went down,
Mm.
and I can't wait for them to come back around. The group I've seen the most times live is Twisted out of Detroit.
Ah,
Uh,
yeah, I'm
yeah,
quite familiar.
oh, are you? Oh, right. Yeah, no. I lost count. Like I stopped trying to count. I've seen them in the neighborhood of, I don't know, like it's getting close to 40 times. I just see them every time they come around. Tickets are like 20, $30, and they're here like every 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, I just I love those dudes so much. Are you up on them currently?
I'm not because I'm just like I've been performing stand up, so I'm
Oh,
never
for sure.
home. Like
Yeah.
it's either mics or shows. So I'm like I listen to talk radio now because I was just so tired of like regular radio stations playing the same. Even though they were top 40, they would play the same top four songs. I was just burnt
Oh
out.
yeah. Yeah. I get.
But in the same vein as Twisted, I had this crazy run in with Violent J of
Oh no.
ICP.
Oh no. What happened?
So
Go. Go.
I was conducting this interview with Dope DOD, and they're like a hip hop trio out of Europe. And we were backstage, and the bus was running, and so it was loud, but it was cool. I still got the audio and the video. And first person that comes up and interrupts my interview was DJ Paul of 36 Mafia because he was on the
Okay.
same tour. I'm like, all right, this is wild,
Yeah.
And then there's like other people that came through, but then Violent J shows up out of nowhere and he asks, "Hey, what's that thing? The hoverboards or whatever. I'm trying to buy my kids one and stuff like that." And so he interrupted the interview too because he was on tour with Dope DOD, or Dope DOD was on tour with him as well. And but it was nuts. I was like, man, this is the most craziest interview ever. I've had like legendary interviews before with like like Five Finger Death Punch and Cypress Hill and stuff out in LA and stuff, but I've
Dude,
never
dude,
been that close to like Violent J before. That was just nuts.
I
So
can
he'll get
only imagine that energy. That because that I was way in the ICP for a long time. I've kind of fallen out of it, but like I've been to a lot of live shows. Like I can only imagine what that dude's energy like would be like up close, dude. But no, you said Five Finger Death Punch, which makes me very, very happy because I was gonna say like, do you have any like bands that you got in on early that blew up? Because for me, I first discovered Five Finger Death Punch. They were headlining the third stage at I think it was Family Values in like '07. I think it was '07, and it was like the third or fourth time I'd seen Korn, and they upstaged Korn that year,
damn.
and I proceeded to see Five Finger Death Punch 6 times before the release of their third album
That's
at
what.
places like the House of Blues Anaheim, or if you know LA, if you know just outside of LA proper, the Glass House in Pomona. I
Yep.
saw them there twice. The
I was supposed to see Gojira there one time, I think, and after Nam, because I just covered Nam on the way
Okay.
back up, and they were like, "We don't have you on the credentials." I'm like, "Oh crap!" But going back to Five Finger Death Punch, like I got to interview him at the upstairs at the Whiskey A Go Go,
Okay.
and it was for like the Mayhem tour press
Yeah.
conference. And it was like that time where like they shut down parts of the Sunset Strip just to have Hell's Angels escort everyone in through the building and do security. And I'm like, there's Hell's Angels. This is nuts. And so there was like Huntress rolled through, and Butcher Babies, and Rob Zombie, John Five, and all those cats just kept on
Shit.
going through. And I interviewed Jill of Huntress first, and we talked. But then I mixed it in together with a Five Finger Death Punch interview. Um, and then we were talking, and they were really loud in the hallway. And the guy with the dreadlocks for in his beard, the bald one,
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but he goes, hey, shut up out there. Wu-Tang is talking, because I was like dressed up head to toe at this press conference. And it was like the coolest thing. And so I'll have to send you the interview with when Violent J crashed it in the Five Finger Death Punch interview too.
Oh, 100%. I will watch the hell out of those, of course.
Oh man, they're great. If you want, leave a comment and a thumbs up, because those two, you got. I've kind of made it like Marvel movies for the shout out. You know, when he told everyone to shut up. End of the end credits, because it was too awesome to like not do that. So.
No, I get that. I get that. That's rad, dude. That's fucking super rad. Right on.
Indeed, most definitely. It's been like a crazy, like, I miss my concert journalism days, but now I'm just happy, just, you know, interviewing comedians and
No, most
whoever
definitely.
else I can interview, like kind of like you, like what you're doing now. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah. I just, I'm thankful if anybody puts up with my nonsense long enough to say what's up. So.
Sure, same here.
So like stand up, like I actually, it was interesting to me because one of the first things, like on your Twitter headers is the Joe Coy thing, and I actually saw Joe Coy open for Dane Cook, hot off of the Retaliation tour. He wasn't going up through the arenas yet. It was at the Laugh Factory in Hollywood, and I remember Joe Coy specifically. Like I was like, this dude's awesome. And then he goes on to blow up and become Joe Coy, and I was like, that's sick. So, like, are you friendly with him, or what's up with that?
It was nuts. So like I go to the Florida Theater, and I paid like a lot of money to go see him, and I was just by myself, and I bought merch and everything beforehand, and I go and take my seat, and people behind me showed up late just to see Joe Coy, and they didn't bother seeing the opener or anything.
Okay.
And so they kept on kicking my chair, and I'm like, I go to the usher, I'm like, look, I paid a good amount of money, and there's people kicking my chair. What are we gonna do about it? And they pushed me all the way near like fifth row or something, and it was like super dope because there was like spare seats there because
Okay.
like it was like he was coming back around and he didn't sell it out, and because there's so much short notice. And I'm like, this is pretty rad. I got a really good seat, and I'm like, with a Filipino family, because like his crowd's mostly Filipino.
Okay.
And so like the Filipino mom next to me was just laughing and laughing. So after the show ended, I was like, I pretty much got to meet him going upstairs to his the meet and greet, and I said, hey, it means a lot that you're an Asian comic. I'm an Asian comic too, and he goes, so that makes sense now since your name's Sareth, because I introduced myself off the bat,
Hmm.
and he goes, let me autograph this and this and this and this for you and all this stuff. And then he goes, let me see your phone. I'm like, all right, cool. I thought we were just gonna take selfies or whatever, because there was like selfies at the end of the video on YouTube,
Yeah.
the intro video. And I'm like, and then he switched it to video, and he goes, what do you want me to promote? I'm like, the only thing that's ongoing is Sareth Fest. And I didn't name it Sareth Fest. It's first started off at Clive's studio, and then I thought the name was dead. And then one of the metal musicians named it, and they goes, that's your festival, you're stuck with it, and you can't change it. And I'm like, all right, fine. So that's how that name grew about. But he goes, yeah, just he gave that Sareth Fest message and said, support me. And I was like, wow, dude, thank you.
Yeah.
So, but that's like the whole Joe Coy story, and I'm like, holy crap! And now it locked out. I was on the verge of retiring from stand-up because I was like, what else is there for me to do? I mean, I went on tour. I performed in some of the most legendary theaters and clubs. Literally, what is there left to do? I don't want a special. I'm in the process of recording my second album, stand-up record album.
Okay.
Uh, and
But you said
so
you don't want a special. Why is that?
it's just not the same. for the general audience, they love watching stand up at home because of the pandemic and such. But
Well,
as a comic myself, I don't like watching stand up. Like I can't have like I just maybe it's just my own personal thing. It's like I'd much rather be there live.
oh
Like
no, I 100% understand that. And
yeah,
like, I mean, you're a music guy, so like the analogy that I usually use is like, I'll take them or leave them on the radio, but then live is just next level because live is live. And for me, like the two biggest surprises were like, I had no idea that Judas Priest would melt my face off the way they did, and I didn't understand that Weezer has a level of bass that just transports your entire body. You know what I mean? So when I would like, it's like I at home, I'm like Weezer. Yeah, no, Weezer's catchy. It's Weezer. It's Weezer. It's cool. I caught him live at the Weenie Roast in 2016, and dude, next level.
oh for
So,
sure. I caught Weezer at Riot Fest in Denver, and they were a lot of fun. And when you pointed out Judas Priest, like I've never met Rob or anything like that, but there's a I have like a 3 minute joke that I say with like punchlines, tags, everything, setups, all that good stuff. And it's about the time that I went to a West Hollywood bathhouse and I
okay.
didn't know what I was getting myself into. Uh, and it's
I mean, if you walk
based
into a bathhouse in West Hollywood, how did you not understand what you were getting yourself into?
cause like it looked like one of those industrial buildings.
Okay.
And so I thought, oh, they're probably selling like garage parts or whatever. And the next thing you know, there's some people checking my ID and giving me this, card that says, if you want to go to the free clinic, here it is. Here's lube and a condom. I'm like, what the heck? So,
Okay.
and like my buddy was like, Sareth, you've never been laid and you're stressed out in LA. You're by yourself. Just go get laid and pay for it and get it over with. And I'm like, God, jeez. And so I thought that was like the quickest way to get it over with. But I panicked because I went with my friend um, because like I was working like 4 jobs out in LA because you know how expensive LA is.
Yes, I do.
And so like he like every time he would get drunk, he would hit on me. And I'm like,
Okay.
all right, you have a lady, you buy her expensive things. What's going on, man? Like he would tell me his stories. Like I'm not getting laid by my lady, and she just wants all this material stuff from me, and blah blah blah. And I felt so bad for the guy, and I'm like, all right, I guess we'll go to, this bathhouse that I hear a lot about. And so we go to the place, and like I said, it was like an industrial building on front, and then we go in there and we panicked because it was like completely dark. Those booths were small. There's holes everywhere, and
I have no personal experience. I am enjoying this story. Please continue.
alrighty. So we're like, Sareth, he goes, I I don't know how these rooms work. Can I share this room with you? And I like at the time I was like 230 pounds, and at the
Okay.
moment I'm like 174. Like I lost like a ton of weight.
Understood.
But at the time, it felt like
Good on.
Chris Farley and David Spade, like going to this small room, and then next thing you know, like I see eyes and like a finger poking through the one of the holes, and they're like, saying, "Come over here," and I'm like, "I don't know what's going on, dude. I'm freaking out. Let's get out of here." So we ended up leaving, and like the people in the front desk were laughing at us, and so we none of us got laid, and because there was like holes in like different parts of like there's one hole on one wall that was like butt level, and there's one like that was like mouth level, and there's one that was like hand level, so you can do whatever you want in those that in that room.
Okay.
And so like it was funny that you brought up Judas Priest because like I did that 3 minute set and I left names out of it to keep the innocent. Uh, and I talked about Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and the Beatles, Ronda Rousey and Tanya Harding all in that one bit. And I talked about the Chicago Cubs and the Colorado Rockies too.
Okay.
This just told me like, and if you watch it, it's the one in Atlanta at the Relapse Theater, and that's where Roy Scovel filmed his Netflix special.
Yeah, I like Scoble. I've been a fan of his since the early podcast days. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Like they only gave me 6 minutes, and there was like standing room only. There was like people were just standing in the back because there was no more chairs, and people were sitting on the ground because there was like no more chairs, and they were making grilled cheese. It was just the most random comedy show ever at the Relapse Theater, And the funny thing is, I was there for the Dawn of the Dead, or uh, something of the Dead festival. I think I can't even remember the name. Days of the Dead. So, yeah, that's the one. Days of the Dead. They would
Days of
have,
the Dead. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. And I was there because like Clive was there, and the whole Hellraiser gang was there, and I was like, hey, Simon Bamford that played Butterball and who was in Nightbreed too.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yep, and he
Okay.
was like, I'm performing stand up here, and Tony Todd was there too. But like, we were only expecting like 60 people. We didn't expect it to sell out because it was raining, and people don't want to travel in the rain in the south.
Right.
And all of a sudden, this whole place packed out, and I was like, "Holy crap!" And then I'm like, "Simon, can you please film me? I don't have anyone here." Well, my buddies were there, but they were like busy enjoying the show because they were comics too. And so Simon's in the very back of the room filming me. I have like a mic, like to record on on that camera, and I had brought like a Zoom H1 recorder on with me to put on the stool that was like on stage with me, so I can
Okay.
capture both ends of the room. That's like the crowd and such, and I
Right.
just the audios together. And man, I was like, holy crap, I've never felt that energy before. Like I was just on stage, and like the laughs took forever to come through, like from one end of the room to the next, because
Okay.
it was just like, holy crap, I got it. I only have 6 minutes, and these laughs are taking forever to pass me by. And so like the room was completely silent, but they laughed along when it was needed, and it was just nuts. It was so powerful, the laughs, like it just kept on pushing me backwards, like during certain punchlines, and you can see me moving back because like that energy was just wild. And like you can hear Simon laughing behind the camera, and
Okay.
then he goes back to Clive and company, like Ashley Lawrence and stuff, and
Yeah.
Nicholas and Barbie Wild. He goes back to all of them and he says, Sreth just he should have heard his bathhouse story. Like he had me dying, and like Clive was laughing, and he was like, he just heard all these really cool things what Clive had to say, and I'm like, I'm thanking Clive for that, for transitioning me into stand up, because I would make him laugh, like when I was as his apprentice, and he goes, have you ever considered stand up? I'm like, nope, not at all. He goes, just promise me that forever, I won't be able to make it, but like everyone else, you can perform stand up for, and I'm like, all right, cool. So I brought everyone to this cafe on Ventura Boulevard called the Jump Cut Cafe, in
I've heard
Studio
of this.
City,
Yeah.
and they would show movies there and such. And it's closed now, but I was so nervous, that I dressed up as my Wu Tang superhero alter ego, uh, and then they're like, "All right, no turning back. You gotta go and do your 5 minutes." I'm like, "Crap!" And so I did my 5 minutes. Uh, that glory hole joke is in there, but it was like really early stages of the glory hole joke, and so I take off my mask and I switch into my Rage Against the Machine shirt, and it was I got it from LA Rising when they performed at the Coliseum,
Right.
and I took my mask off, took all my Wu Tang gear off, and left it in the car. And the host goes, "Hey, where did that superhero go? I need him to fill more time because we got more time to fill." And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about, dude." And he goes, "So you're pulling an Andy Kaufman on me?" I'm like, "Yes, I guess I am." And such. I told him I was his manager. So, and then just everything started unfolding in stand up, and like I used Clive's tweet, and that helped me get like those concert gigs, big time, because that started off in 2009 when he tweeted that, and I was
Okay.
like, goodness, dude, like, it felt like when Stephen King co-signed him about the Books of Blood,
Okay.
and it did the same for me, and I'm like, all hell's gonna break loose for me, dude, and sure enough, it did, with like the free concerts along the Sunset Strip and all over LA, to like having my own festival and such. It's just, and I'm just like, I do everything by myself, like I'm my own writer, editor, and publisher, and for them to like grant me permission to see my favorite musicians live is just nuts. Like I'm just thankful.
Nah, 100%, man. And like that's the fact that you got that. Not only do you have your own festival, which yes, it is your name, but it rolls off the tongue. Sareth Fest. It's a good name. Uh, but like that you got it going on two separate locations now, and just it's the dream. Just aggregate everything that you love together and keep it going. I mean, that's what like I'm such a huge like film fan that like I managed to get myself some access to Shriek Fest, and I'm never quite as happy as when I'm hanging out, with the creatives at that place. You know what I mean? It's just that festival specifically. It's like I've been working at a Renaissance fair for a really long time, and like outside of the Renaissance fair, it's the most like familial environment where everybody is just there and having a good time and supportive of each other. I don't know, man. Like, yeah. So I get what you're saying.
Most definitely. And Shriekfest is Denise Gossett's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a good friend of mine. She has her fest here in Orlando or Sanford, and like we're like best buds. Like well, not best buds, but like close buds. Like I had her moderate my panel at the Spooky Empire, which is like a big horror convention here in Florida,
I've heard of
and
it. Yeah.
yeah, it was she was awesome, and like whenever she's in Sanford, I do my best to cover Shriek Fest here for her, and I would go to her fest when it was like at Raleigh Studios out
Hmm.
on Melrose, I believe.
I
That it
believe
was
so.
happening. Yep, and like my buddy Gil had Shock Fest, so I kept on getting that confused, and Shock Fest is pretty nuts too, and their intermissions are just wild. It was
All
good
right.
times for sure. But definitely Shriek Fest is like my favorite in LA because like Denise and the whole gang are just fantastic folks, and I'm like whatever you need from me, I'll hook you up with like press and all that stuff. So
I like the way I got in. It's literally just 90% of the cool shit I've done since I joined Twitter has directly resulted from Twitter. So when people like crack on Twitter, I'm like, no, go ahead, make your little jokes. I'm gonna go over here and get access to film festivals and free concerts and screenings and know when the people I want are gonna be in town. And like so with the Shriekfest thing, it was at the time they had like 15,000 followers, and I don't remember how I saw the tweet, but it was like, what movie was Denise Gossett in with Mel Gibson? And I'm like, if you answer correctly, you get a pass to the festival for Friday. And I'm like, they have 15,000 followers. There's no way I get to this first. But
mhm.
I go to IMDb, I look it up, and I'm like, get the gringo? And she's like, yep, you got tickets. And I was like, wait, for real? Okay, cool. So
Yep.
I just showed up and had a ball. Like, LA traffic. So my lady and I missed the first movie, and it was my first experience like at a film festival like ever. And she was really cool, and like she talked to me for a couple minutes, and then cut to that May, and they do the first Shriek Fest presents at the New Art, and it's People Under the Stairs, which
Mm.
is a real big like childhood trauma movie for me, because that was one I stumbled upon when I was way before I had seen anything too nutsoid. Like and the reason I was just channel surfing, and I'm like, oh hey, it's the kid from Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. What's
Yep.
this movie about? And I sat there and was assaulted in the best possible way by the movie There's People Under the Stairs. So I went down. I shot some line interviews. I shot the Q&A that took place, and that's like Armando is the guy that it goes to Shriekfest all the time. Is good friends with Denise. Does like he DJ sets the opening night party, and he runs these screenings. And yeah, so I cut all that together, and then I sent it to Denise. I was like, here you go. Like I just did it. I was just to show. I was like, here, thanks for putting together this screening. I did this thing, and she was like, oh, do you want to do some press for me? And I was like, yes. As long as everyone's clear that I have no actual experience doing that, I will do whatever you like. And I've been doing red carpet coverage ever since. And I hang out and I talk to whoever will talk to me, and then podcast here and there. So
That's so awesome. And Armando and I go way back because like when during his Video West days on Santa Monica Boulevard.
I'm sorry, Video S. Oh, it's a video store.
Yeah, Video West. It was like
Video West. I'm unfamiliar.
yeah, it was like around. It was on Santa. Well, it was like before you hit Santa Monica Boulevard, pretty much. And like I'd always have to go pick up movies for Clive there, and
Yeah,
he would make
that's
a
tracks.
list. And so it was like that was part of my thing was like I had to like run errands all over Hollywood and beyond for the guy, and which I
Yeah,
loved because it taught me how to navigate through traffic. Because LA, you could be like 3 miles from the destination, but it'll take you like 3 hours to get there.
yeah.
So,
You might as
but
well walk. Yeah, yeah. That's
yeah,
LA.
So he's like, he just having LA as my studio. Like I was like, when I first moved out there, I was like so bummed. I'm like, man, I wish I was like at Warner Brothers and blah blah blah. I'm working there, and then with Clive's studio, it was more like a family atmosphere,
Yeah.
and like he's like my big brother, I think, and with all the things that he's unlocked for me till this day. I was like, I'm so glad that I didn't, because I was talking to other people that worked at Warner Brothers with my other site, my other gigs, and they're like, man, I go, my other pal works there. Do you know him? It's like, nope, we don't know him. I'm like, that's nuts. And for me to like, go to Clyde's place and like, it was like, it was dope, and but yeah, Armando and I go way back, and he even thanked me in his book Hoarder, and I'm like, that's just crazy, and I'm like,
Nice.
I'm so thankful, and so I just and Kevin, I believe we all like we've attended some events together, so I remember I'll never forget those, and it's just awesome that we have like a small circle and have like mutual friends and been to the same shows, even
That's.
though
I
we've never
mean,
met.
it's a giant ass world, but it's tiny.
Yep, for sure.
That's insane. That's insane. Oh man. Well, I don't want to keep you too long, but I'm definitely down to have a chat again sometime about just about anything. Okay, so when I tore my muscle, the
Uh-huh.
first thing I did was just watch all 10 Hellraiser movies because I had them and I didn't know when I was ever going to be able to get to them. And it's the franchise that I was the most curious about with the least knowledge of. Okay, I had only seen Hellraiser 1. That was it. No, I take that back. I also saw Hellraiser 6, which was the first Hellraiser movie I saw because it was the one that they had at the Blockbuster for like $2 on VHS.
Mm.
And I was like, I don't know about this. I mean, like the Cenobite stuff is cool, but the rest of the movie, eh. But so like I sat down and I watched all 10 of them in the span of like a week, and it's a wildly disparate in terms of tone and what you would think the franchise would be given where it starts. But even the worst of them has bits.
So that's why I
But
stopped after like the fourth one. I'm like, you know
why
what?
would you like 4? Did you see you did see 4? You didn't
I
like
did.
4?
Well, I love the first two, but I just decided I'll
Dude,
just give three and four a chance. But the
it's
first
three.
two are just my bread and butter, and those are like, it's just part two is the one that I love the most.
Oh,
And then Hellraiser one, and I know it should be the opposite, but it's just part two is just they take you to hell, and like we talked about, like how the dude was like finding maggots on him, and he was cutting himself to get him out,
uh,
and like
dude, like okay, so I'm red colorblind. I know, ironic, but like the Hellraiser blood is that peak like overdone, so it's so bright that even I'm like, oh, oh, ah.
indeed, and like that was like one of my first horror memories. I mean, it was that, or like Julia when she was like skinless and she was
Yeah,
like, in that white dress suit.
yeah.
That was like my first experience with horror. My other first experience with horror was the one with like Dream Warriors and Nightmare on Elm Street, I believe, where they're in the
Mhm.
asylum and the dude has like the veins as his, being a puppet.
Yeah, that
That
one.
was
That's
like,
also the one with the. That's actually an early childhood trauma movie for me, but it wasn't even the movie. It was the backside of the VHS because the backside of the VHS faced a window that faced the check stands of a shopping, like a grocery store that I went to, because it was in the horror section of the video store that was there, and on the back of the VHS is that Freddy swallowing Patricia Arquette whole image, and I just had no idea what I was looking at. You know what I mean?
indeed. And it's so crazy. Like I remembered when Clive took me to Comic Con with him in San Diego in 2009 during my summer internship days, uh, he was on the same panel as Robert England and Kane Hodder, and I believe some of the FearNet guys.
Okay.
Um, and so I was there, just making sure like Clive's good, because like I was like part of his, I was just him, and I'm like making sure he's good, and all of a sudden I see like Kane Hodder and Robert England standing next to me, and I just end up talking to him, And I thought, well, I just ended up talking to Robert Englund because I recognized his face, and I didn't
Mm,
recognize Kane Hodder because he always had, the Jason mask on
right.
or whatever. And I thought Kane Hodder was Robert Englund's security guard, so I didn't pay much attention to him. So Spooky Empire comes back around like years later, and brought up this small memory of us at Comic Con with Clive, and he was late in traffic, and that's why he was late for the panel. And then I told him everything, like, I thought you were Robert Englund's bodyguard, and that's why I didn't pay much
Yeah.
attention to it. And I apologize. I didn't know you were Kane Hodder because you usually wear a mask. And we were just laughing about it, and it was just like, this is fantastic. I'm glad he forgave me for that. So,
That's awesome, man. A couple years ago, I'm at an LA Comic Con, and there's I believe it's called Muck. It was a panel for a movie called Muck, and Kane Hodder was supposed to be there. And I had a choice to go see that panel or another panel that I also really wanted to go see, but I really wanted to see Kane Hodder. And I went to this panel, and Kane Hodder didn't show up. I was
uh,
annoyed. And then cut to the next year, and there's a panel for Muck again, and Kane Hodder's supposed to be there again. And at the same time, there's also Dungeons and Dragons improv. And I'm like, what do I go left? Do I go right? Do I go left? Do I go right? I'm gonna go right. So I'm going off to the Dungeons and Dragons podcast, and who starts coming down the hall but Kane Hodder? And I'm like, he sees me clock him, and and I'm just like, what do I say? What do I say? And he can see that I can't say anything, so he just reaches out and shakes my hand. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And so I just looked at him and I went, whoop whoop, and he smiles huge, and he goes whoop 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 whoop, and then his handler is like, Kane, we have to go because they were late for the panel.
uh,
And so he just huge smile starts walking away and says, now that's knowledge, and pimps away. And I was like, that was better than any interaction I could have had at that panel. I'm gonna go see my Dungeons and Dragons improv.
That's so cool.
Because it's like, I know you know. If you don't know, whoop whoop is like the universal signal for juggalos. And Kane Hodder is a big, big, big juggalo. So it was just the fact that I knew that pleased him. And oh, it was so good. It was so much fun.
And his documentary on Shudder is amazing too.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm definitely going to. Yeah.
He's a big guy with a big heart, and I just went on the trial thing because I don't have Netflix or Hulu or anything that with paid subscriptions, but I just gave that one a shot, and I'm like, I'm glad I watched this documentary.
Horror, honestly, if you want one, get Shudder. You can't go wrong.
I'll probably go back to horror, but for right now, I'm sticking to comedy and storytelling, and
Yeah,
which is reminds me of like my show coming up at Orlando Fringe. It's my one person / superhero show. Speaking of Comic Cons, and it's called Stories on Sunset. And the first act is how I got to meet Clive and how I became his intern and to his apprentice, and then that led me to concert journalism on Sunset Strip. That's why I called it, Sunset Stories on Sunset. And the third act is my stand-up, and it's really dirty. And to me, it reminds me of, we piece it all together, everything's connected, and it reminds me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where it starts off nice and easy, but then when you get to the third act, like Leatherface appears, and then
yeah.
all hell breaks loose, and you're like, what the heck is going on here? Why is it so dirty all of a sudden? There's
Or This Is the End. Tell me you've seen This Is the End.
I have, yep.
Oh my god, dude! I could not tell you how pleased I was with that movie because I wanted to see it, but I wasn't like all about it. My lady and I went to go see Superman, but it had sold out, and I was like, all right, what are we gonna go see? This Is the End, cool. And none of that third act shit is in any of the trailers. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, no, this movie's fun. This movie's fun. What? The giant demon dick? What's happening? Like.
Absolutely. And that's why I love Friend, just like 100% uncensored, unfiltered. And I'm like, I sang the song about, it's a Puddle of Mud parody of She Hates Me. And I wrote it like 15 years ago when I was in community college. And it's about self-love, but the real title is I Masturbate Me. And it's about me like discovering masturbating. And it's like, it's pretty graphic, but there's no curse words in it. And like, on my comedy album, my buddies memorized the lyrics, and there's some parts where they actually sing along with me, and it was like such a cool night.
That's That's fucking rad. Nah, dude, like the way you told that bathhouse story, I was like, we need to have more conversations at a later time. Like, I'm I'm very open. Like I just, I'm a little scientist, so I'm like, please give me information. Tell me more. Like, like that shit. Oh,
Oh man,
dude,
the things that I've seen in all my travels,
I
and
can only imagine. I mean, I have been to like a sex club. Like, my lady and I went to a dungeon for a couple of parties. So it's like I've definitely been like, oh, my word, I didn't ever think I'd see that outside the internet. Okay. Uh,
indeed, leave that in. That's hilarious. Like before we went to that bathhouse, I took my old coworker to Stud Theater on Santa Monica Boulevard. Have you ever driven by that place?
Say that one more time.
To Stud Theater.
I know what you're talking. I do know exactly. It's across the street from a sex shop that I've been to before.
Yep. So we went there because because I was like, I'm done having you flirt with me. Just let's get this all out of your system. And we went in there, and it was like $18. And they give you a token, and you go in, and like there's like it smells funny because everyone's having sex,
Yeah.
uh, and there's like all these old leather couches, and I'm pretty sure that's where the casting couches go to die,
Yo,
and like
no, no.
there's pornos in like of every like thing going on in different rooms, like gay porn and lesbian porn and straight porn and transgender porn and all these pornos going on in these different rooms, and it's just like an actual theater, and like the seats are like just like a movie theater, except for the small ones with the leather couches, and there was this. I was like, there was these two dudes that were like by us, and they're waiting for us to leave because they were just making out easily, and I'm like, all right, we'll leave. And then my buddy decides to like leave me for a second because he had to use the restroom, and I'm like, crap. And so this guy, he walks past me and he grabs my junk. And I'm like, look, buddy, I'm Asian. You're not gonna get much. I'm so sorry. You gotta move on to the next fella. And and then like in the corner of the room there was like I heard like this squishing noise,
Oh no,
and,
no, no. Okay.
and I'm like, are they busting grapes over there making wine? Like what's going on? And there's some guy was getting a fellatio from another dude, and the whole place smelled like blue cheese, and it was just like, and I
I
can't
mean,
wait.
like, those are the stories, but like,
I try to like paint a visual and get like scratch and sniff in there too.
you know, smell Rama status. Yeah.
Yes, I can't wait to do that at Fringe because I'm like, I sure hope you guys know what you're getting yourselves into because I have 20 minutes to do stand up, and I'm just telling them all my like crazy bathhouse stories, adult theater stories, adult arcade stories, and the time I went to a massage parlor in Bangkok, and it's just, and a crazy strip club in Bangkok too. That strip club was just nuts.
Dude, all you have to insert anything in Bangkok, and it's a crazy story. Like,
Yep, absolutely. Oh
uh,
man, I'll have
dude.
to send you the audio for that one because I know
Oh
that we're
no,
trying
I'm
to wrap
down.
up.
I'm down. Yeah, dude. Yeah, no. It was just, oh man. So that was my conversation with Sareth Ney. I was just messing around on Twitter and said, hey, throw me the titles of some horror movies you think I should see. Either we'll talk about them because I have, or I'll try and track them down because I haven't. Then maybe we can talk about them afterwards. And he hit me with Nightbreed, the Clive Barker absolute unfuckwittable classic. I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I have seen that and the director's cut, of course. Yes, yes, yes. And then we wound up having this wonderful little chat. Thanks to Sareth for putting up with my nonsense. Thanks to anybody who's listening right now for even further putting up with my nonsense. If you feel like it, go ahead and give me a follow over on Twitter. I'm at Blue of Shoe. Blue the color OFSHOE. Take care, everybody.